All right, let's talk about the Romans. We always think of them as these incredible conquerors, right? But honestly, they were maybe even better problem solvers. Their empire, it wasn't just built with swords and shields. It was built with arches, with concrete, and with this just mind-blowing grasp of engineering. So let's dive into their blueprint for building something that truly lasts.
So the big question is how? How in the world did they build these structures that are so advanced they still completely blow our minds 2,000 years later? Well, the answer isn't just about stacking big rocks. It's about big ideas. It's about finding these absolutely brilliant solutions to some of the most epic challenges you could possibly imagine.
Okay, so our first challenge, it's a huge one, keeping people entertained. Imagine you have to create a space for the masses, a place that's not just a spectacle, but is also ridiculously safe and efficient. What was the Roman answer to that puzzle? Yep, the Colosseum.
You gotta understand, Emperor Vespasian wasn't just building an arena. He was trying to solve a total logistics nightmare. The goal here was to entertain a huge and, let's be honest, probably restless population. And the risk? Total chaos, massive bottlenecks, disaster. I mean, the scale of this problem was something nobody had ever dealt with before.
Just let that number sink in for a second. Over 50,000 people. That's a modern football stadium. And every single one of them had to get in, find their seat, and then get out again, all without a single QR code or computerized ticket. Just think about that.
But here's the part that really gets me. It's not just the sheer number of people, it's the efficiency. Get this, it's estimated the entire Colosseum could be emptied in just 15 minutes. 15! That's a level of crowd control that, frankly, a lot of modern venues would kill for. So how on earth did they pull that off?
The secret sauce was a system so good we actually still use its name, the Vomitoria. And it was just genius in its simplicity. You had 80 numbered entrances at ground level, so there was never one single point of failure. Each of those arches led to a very specific section, funneling people through perfectly angled corridors and stairs. It's like it's a masterclass in engineering human behavior.
And those arches, they weren't just about directing traffic, not at all. They were the literal backbone of the structure. They held up the massive weight of all that seating. But because they're open, they also created the space for all those hallways and provided natural airflow. I mean, that is classic Roman thinking, right? One single design element solving a bunch of problems all at once.
But the real magic, the stuff that made the crowds go wild, it all happened completely out of sight. Right under the arena floor, there was this incredible 2-level underground labyrinth called the Hypogeum. This was the backstage area, the engine room that powered the whole show, letting gladiators and wild animals just pop up as if from nowhere.
And this wasn't just some dusty basement. This network was insanely complex, full of tunnels, cages, prep areas, the whole shebang. But the real game changer? 32 elevator systems. We're talking sophisticated counterweight-operated lifts that would just shoot animals, scenery, fighters right up onto the arena floor through trapdoors. It was easily the most advanced stage machinery anywhere in the ancient world. It created total magic.
All right, so let's shift gears. We're going to go from a packed public arena to a quiet, sacred space. From the challenge of managing crowds to the challenge of, engineering the divine. Next up, the Pantheon.
So the problem here was totally different. It was both architectural and spiritual. The goal was to build a temple for all the gods, and they wanted it to feel as huge and perfect as the heavens. But here was the catch, the big constraint. You couldn't have any internal columns. Nothing to break up that wide-open space and ruin the illusion.
And their solution? It started with pure, beautiful geometry. The Pantheon really is an architectural miracle. The entire interior space fits inside a perfect sphere. The height of that incredible dome is exactly the same as its diameter. This creates this profound sense of harmony, of divine balance. It's like you're standing inside a perfect model of the universe.
Okay, but how do you actually build that? How do you support a concrete dome that massive? This is where Roman material science just gets genius. The engineers came up with this revolutionary recipe for concrete that actually changed as the dome went up. So down at the base, they used heavy, super strong travertine. Then, as they went higher, they started mixing in lighter stuff like tuff and brick. And at the very, very top, they used ultra-light pumice stone. The dome literally gets lighter the higher it goes. It's an absolute stroke of genius that made the impossible possible.
And right at the very top, you've got the famous oculus.
And this 9-meter opening, it wasn't just a skylight, no way. It was this powerful symbol, a direct, unfiltered connection between the world of mortals down below and the heavens way up above. It basically turned the building into a kind of giant clock or calendar, connecting people directly to the cosmos.
Now, what's so cool is that this revolutionary way of thinking wasn't just for buildings. The Romans also completely changed how they saw themselves. And that led to a massive shift in their art. They decided to make it personal.
See, before the Romans, Greek sculpture was the gold standard, right? And it was all about idealism, perfect gods, flawless athletes, you know the drill. But the Romans, they went down a completely different road. They cared about realism. They sculpted real people, emperors, senators, even their own grandparents. They wanted to capture character, experience, personality, all of it, the wrinkles, the scars, everything. For them, it wasn't about some abstract idea of beauty. It was about carving a person's actual legacy into stone.
And believe me, this was a deliberate choice. It was almost defiant. You have the historian Pliny the Elder pretty much complaining that this obsession with stark reality was ruining the true art of making people look perfect. But it seems the Romans were just way more interested in truth than they were in perfection.
So when you step back and look at all of it, the stadiums, the temples, the statues, you start to see a pattern emerging. The Romans weren't just building for today, they were creating a blueprint for the future.
Think about it. These aren't just old, dusty artifacts. They are timeless answers to fundamental problems. The arch, that's the backbone of big buildings. The dome, that's how you enclose huge indoor spaces. Roman concrete, a revolution in materials. Crowd control, we still use their principles in stadiums today. And realist art, that's the foundation of capturing who a person really is. These innovations became the building blocks for so much of Western architecture and art.
And all of this leads to one final thought, kind of a big one. The Romans faced these enormous challenges, and they engineered solutions that have lasted for thousands of years. So when we look at our own world and the challenges we face, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are we building today that will still be around, still inspiring people 2,000 years from now?